by Minneapolis police, and the protests that ensued. And a bruising presidential campaign had Americans steeping in a stew of nasty rhetoric and recriminations, hate speech, and high anxiety. In other words, the world has rarely been as ready for a luxuriously mustachioed coach full of aphorisms about perseverance and kindness as it was in August 2020. And with very little fanfare, Sudeikis and his magnificent whiskers emerged to give us all what we never knew we needed. The concept was simple. Take all the anti-heroes that had dominated TV for years, from Tony Soprano to Walter White to Larry David, and do basically the opposite. Treat others with kindness. Greet setbacks with grace. Be curious, not judgmental. I personally didn't want to do the arc of son of a bitch to saint, Sudeikis recalled. It was like, what about just playing a good guy? But there is power in simplicity. And as word spread and more people discovered the show, as the kids began another lost school year, as the vote counting stretched on and wild election conspiracy theories proliferated, as we spent the holidays separated from our families, as we watched the terrible January 6th Capitol riot and yet another round of divisive impeachment hearings, Ted Lasso was there for us when we needed it. And in return, we showered it with affection, Apple TV Plus subscriptions, and Emmys. Sudeikis, of course, didn't do it alone. The story of Ted Lasso is not just a story of unfortunately fortunate timing, of a Saturday Night Live veteran's time in the sun, or even of a wondrous mustache. It's a story, appropriately enough, of teamwork, of hidden talent, of a group of friends looking around at the world's increasingly nasty discourse and deciding that, as corny as it sounds, maybe simple decency and a few laughs still had the power to bring people together. Ted Lasso is a story of actual underdogs playing fictional ones, of Hannah Waddingham, then best known for shouting "shame" on Game of Thrones, emerging as a resilient symbol of modern womanhood, of an unknown comic like Goldstein using the show as a launch pad to international stardom and a spot in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a story of a group of actors, writers, and crew members revealing that they were more than the world realized. It's a story about what happens when you dare to believe. And it's a story full of questions with fascinating answers. How did Sudeikis' time on Saturday Night Live inform Ted Lasso themes about fame and ego? How were the cast and writers chosen? And what were the challenges of filming overseas during a pandemic? How did the show's stars adapt to suddenly becoming internationally famous? How did the creators handle the pressure that came from overseeing a story that was not just popular, but actively meaningful to millions of people? And how did they feel after 2 years of near universal praise when a backlash began to build around the show's final season? My role as the television editor for the New York Times provided the ideal perch from which to watch and cover Ted Lasso as it blossomed from a curiosity into a phenomenon. It also gave me an informed perspective, born of watching way more TV than anyone probably should, on what made it distinctive as a piece of art. Ted Lasso didn't happen in a TV vacuum. The creators originally based its structure on that of the British Office, the instant classic cringe-com. But Ted Lasso was part of a pendulum swing in TV comedy away from that, and other 2000s series like Curb Your Enthusiasm, Arrested Development, and 30 Rock, and before them, Seinfeld and The Larry Sanders Show, that mined hilarity from often despicable behavior. While fans of choleric comedy still had shows like Veep and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia to tide them over, sitcoms have largely trended toward the light in the 21st century. The American Office began as a harsh copy of the original, but ended 9 seasons later as a much warmer, more open-hearted show. The heroes of series like Parks and Recreation and Modern Family were mostly trying to be better people. The Good Place was based entirely on that concept. And by the end of its run, Schitt's Creek